This is Aesthetically Trained, the podcast. Pushing you to year-on-year progression. With your host, Ross McKinley.
Yo, I'm Ross McKinley. This is Aesthetically Trained, and welcome to the podcast. Episode 1, Inception. Hopefully, you know who I am already. You might have heard of me personally. You might know Aesthetically Trained. You've no doubt, if you're here, have heard me before shouting yo into a camera. I've been doing that many years to try to get people's attention, and I'm going to keep doing it. I've done Fat on Friday. I've got the 28-day challenge, the 12-week transformation, the inner circle. I've helped men literally all over the world. I've had over 500 men through just one of my programs, a 28-day challenge. I think I'm close to helping probably 1,000 men in total, if not more. This podcast is going to give us an opportunity to continue doing that, to let you know a little bit more about me, to give you some of the stories and some of the details that I might struggle to get into the shorter social media videos. This is all about what Aesthetically Trained's all about. Year-on-year progression and pushing you to that in all areas. Not just the gym, not just dieting, everything. And over the coming months, episodes, years, however long this lasts, that's what I want to be doing. And I'm going to show you a lot of tips from both myself and hopefully some cool guests along the way to do that. But I'm going to start the first episode. I thought it was only right to go right back and explain to you how we got here, to tell you why I love doing what I do, why I believe that training and dieting and what I do inside Aesthetically Trained can form the basis for changing your whole life. Some of the background stories, the information, the details you might not have heard before. So I thought this is the place to start. A little bit of my story, a little bit of the why, the what, the where, so that moving forward, you've got a lot more context. You can understand what I'm saying more, and hopefully this is the start of a long podcasting journey. So in case you can't tell from the accent, I'm trying to tone it down massively for this podcast. But I'm from the northeast of England. I could be considered a Geordie to some people, but I'm not really. I'm from Alnwick, which is in the northeast. It's actually much further north than Newcastle. I'm from a small market town called Alnwick. Little place, some cobbled streets, a market square. It's actually where Harry Potter was filmed. Some of you might have heard of it because of that. It's a lovely place to grow up, and that's where I'm from originally. The reason I'm telling you that is that I wanted to start with where and why I started training. Now, before I do that, I want you to think of when your first gym session was. When and where? How old were you? Well, I was actually probably around 14 years old, and I can tell you the very specific reason why that I went to the gym. It wasn't that I was overweight. It wasn't that I had a little chip on my shoulder. It was actually that I wanted to be a footballer. That's what I wanted, like many lads, and I thought that going to the gym would help. And I managed to join the Willowburn gym in Alnwick at the time, Willowburn Leisure Centre, and I trained there for many years afterwards. But that was when it all started for me. Very basic programming. Like everyone, when you first go to the gym, I had the induction. I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. That's the swearing thing out the way right away. I will probably swear a lot. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought sets and reps, 5 sets of 5, 3 sets of 10. It was very basic programming, but I loved it. But I loved it because I wasn't necessarily in love with training yet, but I loved the end goal. And that might be why some of you are starting. It might be that you're thinking about getting in shape, losing weight for a holder. It might be that you're trying to get better for your sport. Whatever reason it is, we all have a reason why we first joined the gym. And mine, all the way back then, was football. It grew from then. I attempted to be a footballer. I failed. I wasn't good enough. I did play for some half-decent teams. I played for Berwick Rangers. I played for Morecambe. I played for Torquay. All at a youth level. Nothing too big time. But it was good, and it was actually football that kind of started my journey to here. I was very fortunate when I was at football that I had a lot of time to train, and I was a footballer, or attempted to be a footballer, up until I was 18 years old. It was when I was away at football that I started training really hard. Obviously working with professional football clubs and being around them, I had access to strength and conditioning coaches, and being in gyms a lot and training, I learned a lot. I had spare time as well. I was just a young lad. I read Men's Health. I done all the things that everyone started in the beginning. Men's Health, Men's Fitness, T-Nation, all of the websites, all of the information that I could absorb, I absolutely loved it. Anything that was for free, any article online, any workout, I was there wanting to try it. And actually by the end of football, when I stopped playing, I actually enjoyed the gym. I was training in the gym more than I was going to football. I would go to football typically every day when you're a youth team player at whatever level at a club. You might be going to college alongside it as well, like we did at Morecambe, but you'd be training in the morning, then you might train in the afternoon. But typically what I was doing, I would get up in the morning, I would go to the gym first thing at 6 o'clock. I would go to the college where we were training for Morecambe. I would train and do my college work and train with a football club and do football training. Then I would go back to the gym straight after, and then I'll be reading about the gym at night. This was where my love for it started. The reason I think this is important is actually I've got a bit of a philosophy or a little thing that I like to kind of explain, and that's that for anyone that's ever played a team sport, you get a feeling or you get a buzz when you're in a team or when you score a goal, or you've got something that like you just get that hype and that energy, and I absolutely love that. Anyone who's ever played football, scoring a goal is class, isn't it? But for me, what I actually learned and what I realised was that actually, hang on a minute, when I'm in the gym, I've got something that I can control myself. I've got something where every single day, potentially in every single session, I can be having these little goals. I can be getting this little boost. Now, granted, it's not on the same scale and it's not necessarily the same kind of buzz, but I tell you what, I got a real hunger for it. I got a thirst for it, and I loved it. And it was when I was away at football, I found them the other day. I started sending programs back to my friends. It wasn't enough for just me to be in shape. It wasn't enough for just me to be bench pressing probably 5 kilos a side or 10 kilos a side or whatever it was at the time. I wanted my friends to be doing it, and I was sending programs home. I was writing programs myself, probably a little bit of plagiarism, taking them from what I was learning at the football club and the coaches there, and sending them back to my mates. I was trying to learn and implement right away from 16, 17, 18-year-old. I'm 29 now. Hopefully I don't look like it yet. But I've been doing this a long, long time. I've been coaching people in one way or another, officially or unofficially, don't tell the tax man, for 10 years. It's a long time. And in that time, that's when I said at the beginning, you might have heard of us helping one of your friends through one of my programs, or however it's come about. But back to the story. Like I say, I was 18 when I stopped playing football. I had worked really hard at it. I come home, and when I moved back to Alnwick, having lived in Morecambe at a young age, having lived in Torquay and played there, I moved back to Alnwick, back to the northeast. I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but what I did know is that I absolutely fucking loved the gym. My spare time at work, I actually ended up being a plumber. I'm a fully qualified gas heating engineer, or I was many years ago. And when I was a plumber, when I was in the van at work, when I had my break, I'm sure some of you do this with the things that you love in your spare time. When I was on my break at night, I wasn't someone who was sat there looking at the next drill to buy or any work pieces or anything like that. I was there on T Nation looking at articles. I was looking about how to add 2 inches to your calves. Unfortunately, there's never been 2 inches added to them since. They're still small. But I've been looking at all that stuff. And that's when I realised, hang on a minute, I'm probably as passionate, if not more passionate, about training, about dieting. And not just for myself, but I had a real interest in kind of like, unfortunately, my friends have had to go through a lot of stuff with me over the years, different challenges, and really forcing it on them and telling them as well, like, hey, listen, like, we need to be doing this. We'll look mint, we'll pull more birds, we'll look cooler, we'll look bigger, we'll be a right squad when we go out. We need to all be in shape. And that's how it started. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to share some of the photos of my friends right when we're back at a young age. But that is really when it all started, 18, 19-year-old. Fortunately, when I was a plumber, my boss at the time was fantastic, and he noticed, bless him, he noticed that I probably wasn't cut out to be a plumber. I've probably got 2 left hands. I'm not really the kind of person to do that kind of stuff. And I give it a good go, and I probably had a good attitude for it at the time, and I was definitely a proper try-hard, but plumbing wasn't for me. And he said to us, listen, you love the gym. You're probably clever enough. Why don't you look into possibly going to university? And from there, as you can imagine, that's where I went next. I went to university. I applied for Leeds Met. I was there for 3-4 years. I didn't just want to go to university because everyone else was going. I wanted to go to university to get a degree specifically for becoming a personal trainer, a coach. I didn't really know back then, being from Alnwick, it was a small place. I didn't really know anyone who was doing what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I had to go to uni and that I wanted to be, my goal was always to be the best coach, to be the best at my job, and everything else would follow. And to do that, I wanted to stand out. I didn't want to just have, no disrespect to the lads, just have it, the level 2, the level 3. I wanted to do the best I could. I went to university, got my degree, fantastic 3 years. I went and volunteered at a gym In Leeds, you might have heard of it. Unfortunately, it's shut now. But my journey in coaching started at this gym in Leeds in terms of one-to-one coaching. And it was a gym called Edge. Something I'm very, very proud to be a part of. It was absolutely class. And I learned a lot back in the day, as they say. It was mint. The atmosphere, the members, and I was very lucky at the time to have some good mentors around us. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of, how should we say it? I learned a lot of business stuff. I learned a lot of coaching stuff. I learned a lot in all areas from all manners of people in that gym at the time. And I have some friends that I made in that gym that I've still got to this day. It was class. Your local gyms, I always think, your low ceilings, the ones with the atmosphere are the ones you want to be in. McVicker's in Newcastle, Edge back in the day, Gain Station in Leeds now, 1RM's a good gym. I like low ceilings, grungy, hard training where everyone knows everyone, they'll shout at you for your next set. And that was where I learned that. Back in the day at Edge Gym. I actually walked in Edge. This is a cool story that not many people know. I think now they see the end result, they see the podcast, they see my attempt at all the books on the shelf behind us. They think that maybe it's always been like this. Let me tell you, back in the day, when I was at university, I walked in Edge Gym and I found Edge because I just searched best gyms in Leeds. That was how I realised, or that was how I found Edge. And I can remember emailing the owner at the time saying, look, I'm at university, I'm going into my second year, I need to do some work experience, I'd love to come and work for free. And that's what I've done. I actually worked for free first. So I started off by working there for free. This was alongside, I think at the time I was writing programs for people, probably shouldn't have been, but I was writing programs for my mates. I was writing programs for people at university as well because I had this anecdotal evidence that I could get people in shape. I already had at this point before and afters, even at a very young age without the necessary qualifications as such. With my friends, with myself, I'd already been through these journeys. So I went to Edge and I said, look, this is what I can do. I'd like to get involved. I worked there for free first. Then I was just a normal gym instructor / coach. I ended up being the manager. And then one day I got involved with the gym properly. And it was actually leaving that gym or being bought out of leaving that gym when I was the manager and part owner that helped me start Aesthetically Trained and get us to this point now. So that was kind of a little bit of the background. Obviously, I've lived in Leeds. I've lived in Newcastle. And that's how Aesthetically Trained come about, or how it started. It was alongside managing Edge that I basically decided that as much as I loved the day-to-day running of the gym, I wanted to have transformations. I wanted to have the before and after. I loved seeing those photos online. What I always had inside of us, and some of you lads might have it as well, was questions around, from a young age, things like basically what was possible. Could I get in that shape myself? When you see a transformation on Instagram or on Facebook or anywhere on social media, what I always wondered was could I be like Steve Cook? Could I be like Ryan Terry? At the time, Simeon Panda. These are all the people like when I was younger, Sergi Constance. All these people, and some of the older men listening, some of my clients have no fucking clue who any of them are. Arnold, back in your day, some of the older lads. Basically, fitness models, bodybuilders. I was young and naive and I used to think, are they taking gear? What's possible? And I wanted to prove that for myself. And that was how I got into my journey of competing. I've done 7 bodybuilding shows. I think when I made my notes before, I think I've done 7 bodybuilding shows, all naturally, probably to my detriment, doing them naturally. I probably done myself more harm than good in some ways. And then it was from there, when you start, and you'll see it so many times today, people will do a bodybuilding show, then they'll start coaching people. But I was the other way around, actually. I'd been coaching my friends, coaching myself, working in Edge, getting these before and afters. And it was from there that I then decided I wanted to compete myself. Like I mentioned before, the goal for me with competing, the goal for me with training, helping others, this podcast in the long run as well, is pushing you to year-on-year progression. I love the idea that like 2021, 2022, whatever year you're in is your best year yet. But you won't do that, you won't achieve that by not thinking about the next year, by only serving yourself in the current time. You won't achieve that by mediocre effort, by mediocre planning, by average decisions throughout the year. Obviously, bad decisions are going to set you back even more. I've always liked having goals, deadlines, pressure, both for myself and the people around us. So when I started Aesthetically Trained, the goal originally was actually to have 12-week transformations, was to help people and get as many of them as possible. And when I first left Edge Gym, when I first stopped being a full-time gym manager, which I loved, and left my role in the business, what I'd done through Aesthetically Trained back then, I think it was 2015, 2016. When I started then, I was focusing solely on the bigger transformations. I was looking at how can I get the best possible result over 12 weeks, and that's great. But some of you watching or listening to this podcast right now, you might not have had any results whatsoever so far. You might be looking at some of the results I get, at me, people across the world, and thinking that's great for you because of X, Y, or Z. You might have said, this is, it's all right if you're already in shape. I'm already too far gone, or for whatever reason. A little bit like me looking up at people like Steve Cook, Simeon Panda, the people I mentioned before, Ryan Terry, and thinking, is that possible? I had a positive belief all the time. I was like, oh, can I get like that? Can I get like that? You might be looking at people like me, the lads I help, and thinking like, is that even possible for you? How do you do it? And that, to give you the story, is how the 28-day challenge come about. The 12-week transformation, 10-week transformation, the longer term before and afters, I've got them going back to 17, 18-year-old. I'm starting to tie it together now. I've done that forever. But it was easy for me to bully my friends into it. It was easy for me to say to my friends, this will definitely work. You're doing it. I used to get up in the morning. I used to train myself. I used to go to work all day as a plumber. I used to drag my friends back to the gym at night and train them for free just to make sure that they've done the training properly. Now, that's great, but there's no way I could do that for my hundreds of clients I've got online now. How can I do that online? How can I convince you? How can I convince people all over the world that it's possible, that you can get to that next step, wherever you're at? Could be losing a stone, could be losing a couple of kilos, could be gaining weight, could be building muscle. How can I prove that you can do that naturally? How can I set standards for people, both in 12 weeks, 28 days? How can I give people a portfolio of results that just gives them something to aim for all the time? And that was why the 28-day challenge came about. Now, the 28-day challenge will share all of the results. Nothing's hidden. Every single result goes on social media. And the idea, the 28-day challenge and this kind of new entry level to Aesthetically Trained that come about in, I think it was 2017, the first 28-day challenge. The idea was to show people, look, this isn't 28 days and you never have to train or diet again. This is, what could you do? What could you do if you had the right coach, the right diet, the right training, the right support, the right attitude, the right community of like-minded individuals around you that maybe you didn't have in the past? Because make no mistake, I know that when I was younger, like I said, I was an addict, there wasn't many people there training like that. I had fortunate to have some older bodybuilders in the gym and stuff, but I was very, very motivated. Me saying to you, it was my passion from a young age, does absolutely fuck all for the normal bloke who wants to get in shape and maybe better himself a little bit. I'm the professional here. But what I wanted to do was say, right, that might well be the case, but how can I convince as many people as possible that it is possible and get them to take the first step? And that was how the 28-day challenge came about. It was a case of, look, it's only 28 days. When you start, you can literally see the end. It's 28 days later. What is that in the grand scheme of things? 1 month of the year. And it was from that Aesthetically Trained, I think, fair to say, probably exploded. We'll get loads and loads of lads through. We've now had over 500 men, coming on nearly 600 men, through just that one program, as well as the 12-week transformation, as well as the inner circle, as well as the lifestyle and the ethos around it. It kind of did start with, and it has now grown into other stuff. But certainly for a lot of people, that journey starts with the 28 days. And for me, that's kind of the thing that I like to compare back to. The point where I think it's given me the opportunity to convince the most amount of people that it is possible. That you can have those little wins every day, that you can get a little buzz in every session that's similar to scoring a goal in football, that's your little win every day. And what I think moving forward, and what you'll see no doubt across all the different podcast episodes that we do, all the content that we put out already, I think and I believe and I know for a fact that the changes you make in a training and dieting program, whether it's with me, whether it's yourself, I'll be giving you loads of information over the coming episodes and months on how to do this yourself as well. This isn't just for my clients, this is for everyone. I want everyone to listen to it. I want everyone to leave a review for it. But what I think is that it is possible. And it's possible with small steps each day. And if you've got the right program, the right training, the right information, you can suddenly be getting this opportunity every day to change your state. you can have something that's completely in your control. I love football. I love the crack with the lads. I love all of that stuff around it. But at the end of the day, you've got a little bit of an out in football. Or in some things in life, you've got a little bit of someone else's involved. It can be someone else's responsibility. What I love about the gym, what I love about training and dieting is that you can take complete responsibility for your own results. You can literally dictate how you feel, how you act, how you move, and the results you get through small steps every single day. And what I believe, what I know, and what I preach all the time is that if you do that, it transcends. It goes into so many other areas of your life. This podcast and Aesthetically Trained and everything that I do, initially on the surface, when you scratch and look at the surface, it might look like it's all training and dieting, maximal sets, going to failure, full range of motion, time under tension, the mechanisms of hypertrophy, mechanical tension, cellular swelling, all of these things. And I can do that and I'll give you that and there'll be episodes on that, no doubt. But it's about having the mindset and the belief behind it that on a deeper level, that's why now we've got things like the Inner Circle. That's why we've got a community of people behind Aesthetically Trained. That's why over the years, I've had lads work with us from Mexico, Switzerland, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, America, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, the UK, everywhere. In Australia, we had 2 lads walk in the gym on the first day of the 28-day challenge. They walked in the gym. They didn't know each other. Shout out to them, Jack and Michael. They went into the gym. They've got there. They were both doing the 28-day challenge. What's the odds of that? How crazy is that? It is literally worldwide, and it's through this belief. And on the face of it, to people in the outside world, it might be like it's vain. It's just the before and afters. It's just the diet and the calorie deficit. That's only the surface level stuff. What it's really about is completely, or the possibility or the chance or the opportunity to completely change your life. And it all starts with your training and diet. And that is what Aesthetically Trained is all about, pushing you to year-on-year progression. That's it. Episode 1 done. I will be back with episode 2 and 3 very soon. We'll be delving in to some much, much deeper topics, going into detail, but I thought this one would be right, and I think that it's been good to go back to revisit some of my old stories, some of where it's come from, so that in the future, hopefully you've got a better understanding of who I am, where I'm from, and why I love what I do. Hopefully you can tell how passionate I am about it. If you want to better yourself, if you want that progression, whether it's with your physique, your mindset, whatever it is, I can promise you I'm going to be sharing loads and loads of information through that and on that over the coming weeks, months, years, however many podcast episodes this lasts. Please do us a favour, drop us a comment below, whatever you're listening on, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, iTunes podcast. Please leave a review. Please pay it forward. Pass it on to someone else. There's a great quote from another podcaster I listen to. He says, pass this podcast on to someone else who is like you. Pass it on to someone who you think is the same as you, who'll benefit from it. So please, wherever you're listening in the world, leave a review, drop a comment. I'll be back for the next 2 episodes very, very soon to give you something to gorge on and binge on. And let's keep getting it. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Aesthetically Trained, the podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread the word.